Hello, my name is Abdulwasil and we'll be talking about Django models and migrations today. But before we get to models and migration, we will talk about starting up a Django project from scratch. We'll talk about Git, like using Git as we go along with our project. So let's have a nice video, I guess. Now, the first thing to do is to move to the directory where we are going to work. A video was released yesterday on working with the terminal. You should probably check it out before you check this video out, because we'll be doing a bunch of movements. I mean, like a bunch of like basic CLI things, and we don't. I wouldn't want you guys to get lost. So please, check the videos out before you come in for this Django models video. Okay. Okay. So the first thing to do is make sure you have Python installed. This is where we'll be working. Make sure you have Python installed. After installing Python, create a new virtual environment. This is to separate our dependencies, right, from each other. What I mean by this is, like, when you work on a project, in a Python project, you want to have a clean dependency history. Like, you want to start from fresh, because you don't want to be mixing different Django versions, because that might cause backward incompatibility issues. Like, if there is a Python, like for example, now if maybe Django 1, like you created a project with Django 1 and now they're on Django 4.0, and I'm very sure there are some features that are in 4.0 that are not in 1, or that was in 1 that are no longer in 4.0, that they've been removed. So if you're now maybe trying to run that same project with Django 4.0, that's going to cause like an issue. But if you have like everything separately isolated, then you can work as you want, like you can enjoy your work, I guess. So keep in mind, we are going to first do pip freeze, right? This will show you, this is my global Python like pip. This is all the things I have on my global installation of Python, right? Good. Now let's do let's create a virtual environment. I have it installed there, so you click enter. That works. And I know some people use virtual env. I don't know how to use that, so this is inbuilt into Python, so I think it's way easier. Like, anything inbuilt is just better, because like it has gone through rigorous process before it's out there for everyone to use. That's just my thoughts. You can argue with that. It's your choice if you want. Now, so you activate the virtual environment, right? For people on Windows or folks on Windows, you want to probably do something like venv scripts, then activate, right? As it won't work for me because I don't have it. I don't have like scripts and everything, but I've activated my virtual environment. As you can see from here, it's activated already. Good. So that the next thing is to install Django. Like, say if you do pip freeze now, right? Sorry, excuse. I've already installed Django. So like the next thing to do is to install Django, right? It costs maybe like 3.2 or something. Oh no, sorry. For you guys, just do Django, pip install Django. I did Django equals to 3.2 because I have 3.2 installed on my PC already, and so that's like, and I like 3.2. Just like, it's a neat thing. Install the Django, pip install Django, and then do pip freeze. So you see that Django is installed. See how short the dependencies are, as opposed to my global dependency that I showed you the other time. I think I can even show you again. So pip freeze. See, I was like unnecessary, and that's why that's one of the reasons why we use virtual environment, to make things a whole lot easier. Voila. Now we will create the Django project. So how do we create projects in Django? Django admin, start project, LMS. We would be working with a project. We will be trying to create a project called LMS. We are not going to create the whole project. All we want to do is to like understand the models and migrations of the project, like for example our Zuri board now, which is an LMS, a learning management site. Like we want to see the thought process behind what was the developer thinking, right, when he or she was making, or when they were making their what's it called, models and stuff like that. Just their thought process, and that was like models, the information they were taking in, how they were putting it to code. That's if you are creating the LMS with Django. So Django start project LMS, that will create a folder called LMS. See, it's a project folder called LMS. For some people that might not work for various reasons, so you can just do something like this and that works for you. Good. Now that we have the LMS created, we can leave the shell and go to our like LMS, open with that application. We're going to be using PyCharm. Yes, we're back. Yes, we're back. So now this is my PyCharm environment. I want to minimize this. I hope you can see it. Try to as big as possible. Fonts are small. Okay. So now we have our basic project set up already. Right, so the first thing to do is to actually start managing our project with Git. So when you do ls, you make sure you're under the manage.py folder. Like any folder you can see, this manage.py. That's if you are working with one single. If you are just doing a Django project, you go under your manage.py, like the same folder that your manage.py lives on, and you do git init, right? Rather, let me remove sorry. So when you do ll, see, this is all we have under our project.idea, which this is generated by PyCharm. So if you are not using PyCharm, you probably won't see anything like this. You might see something like .vs code. If you are using something like Vim, you might not even see anything. So this is PyCharm specific. Then when you do git init, right, and you do ll, see, there was no, and a .git gets created. This is very important. Don't touch this file, please. It has like a bunch of configurations. This is all Git related stuff, so you don't need to know about them, just need to know how to use Git. So after Git init, you do Git status. Git init makes your project readable by Git. Then Git status is to show you the history, like, of your Git and everything. So you have LMS, you have manage.py. So the first thing you want to do is, since you have LMS and you have manage.py, you want to actually run the project and see that it runs, right? If after creating a Django project, Python manage.py run server. Sorry. What happened was I actually activated the virtual environment here. See, this is how you know your virtual environment is activated, but it was not activated here, so we'll try to activate it. /vim/bin/activate. You know how to activate it on Windows. Permission denied. Alright. Sorry, there is a way to do it that I forgot. So this is how to do it. You can do it this way, or you can do it this way. You can use dot, or you can do source. sorry, I've already left the LMS. See, we'll go back in. See, notice that there's no manage.py, so we'll go back to where we have manage.py. Clear, and voila, this is manage.py. So we want to do source bin activate. Now, and we have our virtual environment activated. So this is our virtual environment. If you want to be sure, pip freeze, it will just give us the 4 1 2 3 4 files we got when we ran. Okay, it's not here, it's no longer here, but like just the files we need. Right? Git status. Now we can now run python manage.py run server, which will get our server running. Then we'll go to this URL, which is this. So refresh, we have it working. Right. Control C. That's to cancel. Now notice a bunch of files have been generated for us. If you do something like git status, we'll see new files. See, we have like LMS, we have db.sqli3, just like a bunch of files and everything. We'll create a .ignore file, right, which Git uses to manage its repository. Right, we'll add some files which are auto-generated by Python. This is if you are running Python related files or Python auto-generated files or something, auto-generated file / folder. We have pycache, we have star.pyc. If we have also ID specific folders. We have .idea or .vs code. If you're on VS Code, it might be generated, I'm not sure. Right, so now notice these are the files here. Now when we do git status, see, we can't see .idea again. It has been, see, IDEA was here initially, .idea, but now it's not here again because we've added it to our Gitignore. Anything added to Gitignore will be ignored. So like literally, if we add .gitignore to Gitignore, it will be ignored. See, we no longer have the Gitignore. If we add db.sqli3, if we add LMS, if we add manage.py, if we add everything, see, nothing. But obviously we don't want all these ones in Gitignore, right? And do git status back, and we have this here, this. See, there's an inner file in LMS that is not showing here. That's like PyCharm hiding it from us. But if you check our project, there's a /pycache, and this is the content. Please don't forget to watch the video on working with terminal before you come here, because we're going to be doing a bunch of terminal stuff, and it's actually good to have that like at the back of your toolbox before you come here. So ls, this will show us the content of this directory. So see the files that we have. These are files that we don't need. They are generated by Python, which means me running Python manage py run server on my system generated these files, right? If you run it on your PC, to generate these files for you too. So there's no need for me to like add it to. There's no need for me to add it to what I'm sending to Git to GitHub, right? So you always keep you always like don't commit files like this. So pycache, that was why I added pycache, and this .pyc, that was why I added star.pyc. Actually means star anything, then anything that ends with .pyc. Basically, that's what this one wants to. Anything that ends with .pyc, and that's, you know what, let's do it like this. This is better. PYC. Let's do it like this. So we understand the meaning, like anything that is with PYC, right? And there we have it. So now we can commit our code, but before we commit, there are some things we need to do. If we just do git commit, what will happen? Nothing, right? Because the way git works is when you git in it, after, like, you git in it initially, after that you don't need to do continuous git in it. But before you make any commit, you need to always do git add. You need to always add the files in order to commit them. If you don't add them, you won't be able to commit. So just do git commit, nothing happens. Git add, then git commit, right? But before that, there is a file called db.sqli3. This is a file that we want ignored, right? Why do we want this file ignored? We want it ignored because it was auto-generated by Python, right? And what that means is, being auto-generated means if you run it on your PC, you get a db.sqli3. So there's no need to carry that like what's it called, that sort of load with you to your GitHub repository. 1, 2, a database is a sensitive, or should I say object, or sensitive entity. Let's use the word entity, right? So think about if you go to like Twitter repository and you see all their Twitter database, like, does that make sense? No. Now that means people can query the database and get data from them, right? And that's why you don't commit for security issues and for like the load and everything. So we need to ignore it. db.sqli3. and when we do git status, see it has changed color, but that was because of PyCharm. If you are using like maybe Atom or something, it might not change. I don't know the way all those things work. So now you can now do git add .gitignore lms manage.py, right? Or git status. See, a new like file, couple of files have been created. Then you can now do git. After adding, it will change to green. See, that's changed to green here too. So you can now do git commit and what's the name? Git commit. So make sure your commit message are as descriptive as possible. So I see some people, they'll be like, project, what's this? Nobody understands. Like, even you don't understand it. You understand it today, but think about in the next 2 years when you want to maybe come and do something, when you want to come and refactor your code and you see something like project, like what was I thinking, right? So you want to be as explanatory as possible. LMS, something like starter Django project, right? This is a bit explanatory. Starter, and let's use capital letter. Starter Django project, right? Voila. And when you do git log one line, which is there, get like a list of all your commits. To get a list of all your commits, you do git log. But this shows a lot of information. If you want even more information, you can do git log start. So it gives you all the files you committed, the changes you made to them. So Gitignore, we made 11 changes. See, 1 to 11. It ignores the last one because of the last. It ignores the last space. See, if you go to asg lms/asgs/py lms/asgi.py, see 16 to 16 new additions. Like, it tracks everything. It does not really track the file, it tracks the folder, but that's like a talk for another day. Trust me, you don't want me get into that. Yes, you don't need that for now. Good. So that's everything. So then git log online should show us the log. And there we have it. We have our first git commit, right? Now let's continue with our project. Another thing to note is that we are not yet set. Every project should have a couple of files. Another one of those files is a readme file, right? A readme.md, right? This readme.md should give us information about the files, right? Readme.md. it will give us like what the project is about. That's like when you go to a GitHub repository. So that once you go to a GitHub repository, did I close it? Oh, that's surprising. Once you go to a GitHub repository like github.com/ like something like this. Once you go to a GitHub repository, see this is a readme file. It's just like a basic introduction into what the pro code is like. If you go to most even Linux, if you go to most, you have readme files here, just like a basic introduction, like what's going on in this project. Right, so let's go back. Let's give our project a readme. LMS. You can write whatever you want there. No, just make it as explanatory as well. I don't want to go into writing it. Then that's one. Those are like the file we need. Readme. We also need another thing called requirements.txt file. So when we enter pip freeze, right, it outputs to the terminal, but we can do something like this: requirements.txt. So what this does is it will check here, is there any requirement.txt? No. So it creates it. Then the value of pip freeze, which is all these things, instead of printing it to the terminal, right, it just redirects it. This is redirection. Redirects it into this. Check the tutorial video on working with terminals. It is all clearly explained there. Pip freeze, so you redirect there, and voila. See ASCII-graph, like the whole thing. You need it too. So this, why do you need this? Is you need it because if think about it, for example, now if you've created like a project, now I'm working in your team, so I want to create the same project you've created, right? That means I need the same dependencies in install. See, that means you use Django 3.2, 3.5.2, escape parser 0.4.2, pytz 22.1, like to the dot. You need specific, all the specific files you use, how you use it. So basically, when I'm just creating my project, after creating my version environment, all I need to just do is pip install r, then I install your requirements.txt. I have it. See, requirement already satisfied. I install your requirements. Please don't forget this command. That's I install your requirements.txt and you get working. Right now, if we do git status again, we'll notice that 2 new files have been added, which is the files we just created, readme and requirement. If you want to make sure that works, you can create a file called misc.txt. misc.txt. If you check the tutorial video, I clearly explain what this means. That's why I'm using it. So see, misc.txt has been created. If you do git status to show it, git shows everything that is happening in your working directory. Like anywhere you have that .git underneath, see this .git, it tracks everything, like everything from this project forward. So that means anything inside LMS. If you had, we ignored this one, so it won't track it. We ignored which one did we ignore again? We ignored this one, so it won't track it. That's what it does. So we want to remove our misc.txt. We don't need it yet. We need it down the line, but not yet. Now if we do git status, right, we can now, if we do git commit, what happens? I think I mentioned it earlier. Nothing happens. Why? Because we've not added the file. So please don't forget, always add your files. .md, then requirements.txt, right? It will change to green, right? Same thing here too. See, changes to green. Something you can do though is instead of stage.git store, you don't want, I just don't need to worry about what I just did. So instead of doing this, which is what we did, git add, you can just do git add dash dot, right? It will add everything automatically. But the downside to this thing is that if you have like a file called misc.txt, right, that we don't want to add, like maybe you just have the file for you personally, like maybe a shell script or something. What am I doing? Maybe you have like a shell script that you personally are using to run the process underneath. Like maybe you have something here like a sensitive information like my password or something, right, that you maybe are using somewhere else that you don't want anybody to have access to, right? If you do git add, if you do git add and you do git status, you notice that it has been added too, right? So, and that's why sometimes it's better to just list it one by one rather than doing git add the whole thing. Since we don't want this one to be, we can remove it from being added by doing something like this. You don't need to worry about that, but that's how to like stop it from being added. So now if we do mi, what am I doing wrong? Yes, see, it has been removed, right? Untracked files, it has gone back to untracked files. So if I want to add it back now, I will do git add, and I don't want to add it back, so I want to delete it. That's why rmisc.sh clear, and we are back to where we were then. So we can now do git commit. Don't forget, give it a very descriptive message. You can say something like additional, you can do something like git commit, right? Just git commit, then it will give you a notepad if you're on Windows. Then you can edit it like lms additional management files for what, for Django/git, right? You know, like Django/github, not git. There's a difference between git and github, right? Which I will explain in a second. No, not in a second, but like after I'm done writing plans, right? So we have like readme.md, which is like gives information. Like, just make sure you give a lot of information, because programmers forget things. So when you go back, you want to be able to remember like what you were thinking when you were writing the code, right? So it's always very, very good to comment and write enough information as you can, please. But don't write like don't write a lot. Just write concise and like adequate, I guess. Gives information about the project we are working on, which for us is LMS. For the requirement.txt, I have like Python contains Python dependencies. Have you? Python dependencies for getting started with the project. Yeah, for getting started with the project. Right, notice that there's a line here. I added the line. If you do it like this way, it will merge everything together. So you want to give it a line, so only this line will show. Like, what do I mean? See, come here. If you do like git log one line, right? You see LMS startup project, Abby. Okay, don't worry. Now let's save it. You save and you quit. You can save and cancel, right? This is how I save on my own. Right, now let's do git log one line again. See, LMS additional. Notice that it did not show all those old files, right? But if I want it to show, I can just do git log. See, it shows me readme that gives information. Right, yes, so this line is very, very important. Now let's go back to what we were working on, and that's it. We have our starter project ready, right? Git status clean. We have a clean git status. We have a clean everything. Now one more thing to show you guys. Git one line about git. Notice the way we have requirement.txt, readme.txt, which we just added, right? If I do git checkout 7E44696, right? If I check back to the old file, see, we've lost the readme, and that just to show you how git works, where you can track back to a previous history of your folder, and you can go forward, go back, like just you get, maybe you made a mistake here, you can make the changes and add it again, then push, right? Or maybe you want to check something when your project was still fresh, like what did I do, what did I fail to do, things like that. Then when you now do git switch, that's when, if you want to go back to where you are working, like your main, to your main head, basically, like to the head of your project, that's the topmost, the apex of your project. Git switch. Now we are back to the apex of our project. What was the apex of our project? Where we had requirements, we had readme.md and everything like that. So good, and that's it now. And so that's it for the Git and creating folder part.